Okay, so when you think kidney stone, you're probably picturing a painful little rock, right? Just a clump of minerals. But what if I told you that inside most of them, there's something alive, a hidden living world? Today, we are diving deep into the secret life of kidney stones, and it's wild.
Yeah, for the longest time, the story of kidney stones was pretty straightforward. It was all just simple chemistry. But what if we've been missing a major player in that story all along? What if the whole way we thought they formed is, well, just plain wrong? Let's get into it.
So, to really get why this new discovery is such a huge deal, we first have to talk about the old story. The one doctors have been working with for decades.
The old school explanation was basically like a simple three-step recipe. Step one, your urine gets super saturated with minerals. Think stuff like calcium. There's just too much of it to stay dissolved. Step two, tiny little crystals start to form out of that soup. They call this nucleation. And finally, step three, those little crystals grow and start sticking together, eventually forming a solid stone. It was always thought of as this sterile, almost geological process, like a rock forming inside your body.
But, this neat and tidy chemical story, it started to show some serious cracks. For years, scientists were finding these little clues, these hints that suggested biology, not just chemistry, had a major role to play. And one of the biggest clues came from the fact that there are really two main types of stones. You've got your metabolic stones, like calcium oxalate. These are the most common ones, and they were always believed to be sterile. But then you have this other, less common category called infection stones. And with those, we knew bacteria were the culprit. Certain bacteria produces enzyme, urease, that completely throws the urine chemistry out of whack and basically forces a stone to form. So, okay, we knew biology was involved sometimes, but we figured it was the exception, not the rule.
And the plot thickens because the hints just kept piling up. In lab experiments, researchers discovered that even really common bacteria, like E. coli, could massively speed up the growth of those supposedly sterile crystals. So the evidence was pointing to some kind of connection, right? But nobody could figure out how it was actually working inside a real person.
All right, and this is where the story takes a massive, dramatic turn. Using these incredibly powerful new microscopes, scientists decided to do something different. They stopped just looking at the chemistry around the stone and decided to look deep inside the stone itself. And what they found, well, it changed absolutely everything. This was the bombshell discovery. I mean, for the first time ever, they found undeniable proof of bacteria. And not just hanging out on the surface, but hiding deep inside the very stones that everyone had assumed for decades were completely sterile. And when they zoomed in, it got even crazier. This wasn't just a few random bacteria that got lost. No way. They found organized, structured communities, what we call biofilms. And get this, they were arranged in layers, sandwiched right between the mineral crystals. This was happening even in people who had absolutely no signs of a UTI. So the bacteria weren't some accidental contamination, they were literally part of the stone's internal architecture. This discovery just blew the old model out of the water. Scientists had to go back to the drawing board and create a whole new theory for how these stones are formed, one that puts biology front and center. So, first things first, what exactly is a biofilm? Because it's not just a random blob of bacteria, it's way more complex. Think of it like a microscopic city built by bacteria. They secrete this sticky, slimy goo, a matrix, that acts like concrete and steel, holding them all together and anchoring them to a surface. It's a highly organized community with its own infrastructure. Okay, so here's the new theory. These bacterial biofilms are acting like a biological scaffold, a construction site basically. They create this perfect sticky surface inside the kidney, and all those little mineral crystals floating around in the urine now have something to easily grab onto, to accumulate and to grow. So instead of just chemistry happening randomly, it looks like biology is actually providing the blueprint for the whole construction project. And what's really fascinating is that it's not just any bacteria doing this. The research is showing that specific types of stones are linked to very specific bacterial crews, if you will. As you can see here, those super common calcium oxalate stones, they're often associated with Enterococcus. Uric acid stones, a totally different group. This isn't random. This level of specificity points to a direct, really meaningful relationship. Okay, so this is all fascinating science, but what does it actually mean for the millions of people who suffer from kidney stones every single year? This is the so what part. This is why it really matters, because it could completely change the game, from diagnosis all the way to treatment. The first, most immediate impact is happening in diagnosis, and it's huge. This new knowledge is already fueling the creation of diagnostic tools that are just shockingly accurate. Check this out. This is the power of this new way of thinking. Just by analyzing the specific bacteria in a person's urine sample, machine learning models can now predict the exact type of kidney stone they have with over 90% accuracy. That is an absolute game changer. It means doctors can create personalized treatment plans way sooner, long before a patient has to painfully pass or surgically remove a stone. And looking to the future, the implications are just massive. I mean, think about it. New, totally non-invasive tests, treatments that could actually target and break down these bacterial biofilms instead of just telling people to change their diet. And this might finally explain why kidney stones come back so often. You can remove the stone, but if you don't deal with the biofilm, it's like demolishing a building but leaving the foundation and the construction crew behind to just start all over again. And all of this leaves us with a really powerful final thought. For decades, the advice for kidney stones has been all about managing chemistry, right? Drink more water, watch your diet, control your minerals. But what if the future of preventing this incredibly painful condition is less about chemistry and more about biology? What if it's about tending to the complex, living ecosystem that lives inside all of us, our microbiome? It's a total fundamental shift in how we see this very, very old disease.